Everything you have been told about luck is a deliberate illusion. What if I told you that winning the lottery isn't a random event, but a specific, calculable act of memory? For over 70 years, a forbidden technique from the archives of Neville Goddard has been kept in the shadows. A method so dangerously effective, it was hidden from the public and whispered only to students in the most desperate of circumstances. This is not about positive thinking. This is about bending time. By the end of this video, you will hold the key that turns a game of chance into a mathematical certainty of your own consciousness. Are you ready to remember your future? To truly understand the gravity of the secret we are uncovering, we must first leave behind the polished public image of Neville Goddard and descend into the smoky, dimly lit parlors of 1930s New York, where the true initiation took place. The technique you are about to learn was not shouted from podiums. It was whispered in the strict, uncompromising silence of his mentorship with Abdullah, the Ethiopian rabbi who shattered Neville's understanding of reality. Abdullah taught that the Bible was not a historical record of ancient civilizations, but a psychological drama taking place continuously within the human mind. While Neville's books like The Power of Awareness gave the world the general keys to the kingdom, there existed a shadow teaching, a specific surgically precise protocol for wealth that was hidden from the masses. It remained obscured for 70 years, not out of malice, but because it is a weapon of consciousness so potent that it requires the complete death of the old self to wield. This is not for the curious. It is for the desperate, the brave, and those ready to wake up. We anchor this teaching in the terrifyingly real case of a man known only as TK, a shattered soul returning from the horrors of military service, carrying nothing but the trauma of war and empty pockets. He did not approach Neville for spiritual comfort or philosophical debate. He came as a man drowning in the 3D reality of lack, needing a lifeline that worked instantly. His situation was dire, unemployed, scarred, and facing a world that offered him no hope. Yet, Neville did not offer him pity, for pity confirms the victim state. Instead, he offered him a ritual, a specific application of the law designed to collapse time itself. TK applied this forbidden architecture of thought, ignoring the screaming evidence of his poverty, and in just 3 weeks, the impossible happened. He didn't just find a job, he won $84,000 in a sweepstakes, a sum that, when adjusted for inflation, exceeds $500,000 today. This wasn't luck. It was the inevitable mathematical result of a consciousness that had successfully moved into the future. The magnitude of TK's success reveals that we are not dealing with the gradual, logical accumulation of wealth that the world teaches. We are dealing with a quantum leap, a rupture in the fabric of probability. The fact that this technique was reserved for private students suggests that it bypasses the normal gestation period we are accustomed to, provided the practitioner can summon the necessary degree of intensity. TK had to become a different man internally before the world could show him a different reflection. He had to prove the operant power of his own imagination, proving that the outer world is merely a delayed shadow of the inner world. This story serves as the proof of concept. If a broken, penniless soldier can command the universe to deliver a fortune in 21 days, what excuse do you have? The power is not in the man. The power is in the method. But to access this power, one must understand the specific conditions under which it operates. It requires a level of focus that modern society has largely destroyed. Abdullah's training was rigorous. He would slam the door in Neville's face if Neville dared to discuss how he would get to Barbados without money. Similarly, this technique demands that you slam the door on your own reason. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot worship the evidence of your senses and the power of your imagination simultaneously. This forbidden technique is a declaration of war against the facts of your life. It is the radical assertion that your internal reality is the only true fact, and that the external world is a fluid, malleable dream that must reshape itself to fit your assumption. The silence surrounding this technique for 7 decades was a protective measure. It is dangerous to hand a loaded weapon to a child, and it is dangerous to hand this level of manifestation power to someone who still identifies as a victim. The technique requires you to accept full responsibility for your reality. No blaming the economy, the government, or your upbringing. TK succeeded because he had nowhere else to turn. His desperation became his fuel. You must find that same intensity within yourself. You must approach this not as a try, but as a must. We are now going to dissect the mechanism that made this possible, stripping away the mysticism to reveal the raw psychological machinery of the remembered future. The core mechanism of this technique relies on a concept called inverted revision. You are likely familiar with revision, the act of rewriting the past to change the present. This is the opposite. This is rewriting the future by remembering it as if it has already happened. The subconscious mind, that vast, brooding giant within you, resists when you lie to it. If you say, "I am a millionaire," while feeling the anxiety of poverty, the subconscious rejects it as false. However, the subconscious has a back door. It cannot resist a memory. When you frame your desire as a memory, you bypass the critical factor of the conscious mind. By standing in the future and looking back, you trick the guardian at the gate. You are not affirming what will be. You are recalling what was. This is where the phrase, "I remember when," becomes the most powerful mantra in your arsenal. It is a linguistic hack that forces a shift in your state of consciousness. If you say, "I remember when I was broke," you are implicitly stating, without triggering resistance, that you are now wealthy. The mind rushes to fill in the gap. If I remember being broke, then I must currently be financially free. This subtle implication is accepted as fact by the deeper self. It creates a vacuum that reality must rush to fill. You are anchoring yourself in a timeline where the struggle is already a story you tell friends at a dinner party, rather than a reality you are living. This mental positioning is what creates the time collapse. In the world of Caesar, there is a linear progression. You want the money, you work for the money, you get the money. In the world of imagination, the end is the beginning. By placing your consciousness 6 months after the lottery win, you dissolve the waiting period. You are effectively collapsing the bridge of incidents. You are telling the universe that the event is not a future possibility, but a past fact. The distance between now and then vanishes because, in the fourth dimension of your mind, it is all happening now. You are not waiting for the train to arrive. You are already at the destination, looking back at the tracks. The distinction between hope and memory is the key that unlocks the vault. Hope is anxiety in disguise. It implies that the outcome is uncertain, that it might not happen. Memory, however, is solid. It has weight. It has texture. You do not hope you ate breakfast this morning. You remember it. The feeling of memory is cool, detached, and certain. This technique demands that you view your lottery win with that same coolness. You must trade the frantic heat of desire for the cool satisfaction of a memory. It is a feeling of, "It is done." It is the deep, exhaling relief of a burden lifted. So the mental stance is this: you are not a person trying to win the lottery. You are a wealthy person, remembering the specific moment your life changed. You are looking at the calendar of your mind and seeing the date of the win as a marked page in the past. You are walking through your day carrying the secret knowledge that the old timeline has ended and the new one has already solidified. You are living in the after, not the before. This shift in perspective is invisible to the world, but it is the thunderclap that summons the storm of abundance. However, before you can build this new structure, you must clear the foundation. The ritual begins long before you lie down to sleep. On the first night, and every night thereafter, you must engage in a preparatory act of deep spiritual cleansing. You cannot pour the wine of abundance into a vessel soured by resentment. If you hate the wealthy, or if you envy those who have what you desire, you are subconsciously building a wall between yourself and money. You must spend 5 minutes in absolute silence, bringing to mind the people you perceive as wealthy or lucky, and you must bless them. This is not just a moral instruction. It is a mechanical necessity. By blessing the wealthy, you are essentially telling your subconscious, "This state is good. This state is safe. I accept this state." You are removing the friction of envy. Envy is a statement of lack. It says, "They have it, and I do not." Blessing them says, "Abundance exists, and I align myself with it." You must feel a genuine expansion of heart, a release of all bitterness. You must forgive the world for showing you poverty, and forgive yourself for accepting it. This clears the static from your frequency, allowing you to broadcast a pure, uninterrupted signal to the universe. Once the slate is wiped clean, you enter the state akin to sleep. Say TS. This is the holy of holies, the threshold between worlds. You must lie down and relax your body until it feels lifeless, heavy, and numb, inducing a state of deep physical paralysis while maintaining immaculate mental clarity. You are aiming for theta brainwaves, the frequency of hypnosis and deep creation. In this twilight state, the rational guard is asleep, and the subconscious door is wide open. You are not merely resting. You are entering the operating room of reality. If you fall asleep too quickly, you fail. If you stay too awake, you fail. You must ride the edge. In this hypnagogic state, you begin the visualization sequence. But this is not a vague daydream. It must be specific, sensory, and looped. You imagine a scene that implies the wish is fulfilled, specifically holding the winning ticket or seeing the numbers match. But you add the layer of the remembered future. You recite internally, "I remember when I stood here. I remember the shock. I remember the joy." You do not watch yourself. You are yourself. You feel the texture of the paper, the smell of the room, the specific emotion of relief. You loop this short scene over and over, like a broken record, until it takes on the tones of reality. You continue this loop until you slip from the state of visualization directly into the deep ocean of sleep. This transition is crucial. You must carry the feeling of the wish fulfilled across the threshold of unconsciousness. The last thought in your mind before the void takes you must be the assumption of your victory. This impregnates the subconscious for the next 8 hours. While you sleep, your greater self is arranging the bridge of incidents, moving people, shifting circumstances, and aligning the universe to match the blueprint you just handed it. You wake up not hoping it worked, but knowing it is done. But the ritual does not end with the sunrise. It merely changes form. The daylight hours are often where the manifestation is aborted by the conscious mind. You cannot be a master at night and a slave by day. You must maintain the state of the wish fulfilled, even when the 3D world contradicts it. This brings us to linguistic hacking. You must monitor your inner monologue with the vigilance of a hawk. If a bill arrives, or if you see an empty wallet, you must never say, "I have no money." That is an affirmation of poverty. Instead, you say internally, "I remember when I used to worry about bills." This linguistic shift keeps you positioned in the future. You acknowledge the fact of the bill, but you relegate the anxiety to the past tense. You are a wealthy person momentarily dealing with a remnant of your old life. This creates a cognitive dissonance that the universe is forced to resolve. You are walking through the valley of the shadow of debt, but you fear no evil because you know you are already out of it. You do not discuss your financial troubles with others. You do not complain. You maintain the dignified silence of one who holds a winning ticket that simply hasn't been cashed yet. When the time comes to perform the physical act, buying the lottery ticket, you must do so with a very specific emotional vibration. Most people buy tickets with a mixture of hope, desperation, and doubt. This is a chaotic signal. You must buy the ticket with neutrality. You are not buying a chance. You are acting out a script. You perform the action with the calm conviction of a memory. It should feel mundane, like buying a carton of milk. Excitement implies surprise. Memory implies knowing. You hold the ticket and feel, this is the bridge. It is done. You must focus on the sensory reality of the moment. Feel the paper in your hand. Feel the ground under your feet. Ground the assumption in the physical world. But do not attach your emotional state to the outcome of the draw. Your emotional state is determined by your imaginal act, not by the external event. If you are anxious about the numbers, you have stepped out of the state. You must return to the feeling of, I remember when. You are not waiting for the result. You are waiting for the 3D world to catch up to the reality you have already created. This leads us to the final and most difficult aspect, the discipline of persistence. The 3D world is heavy. It has momentum. It may not shift instantly. You may buy a ticket and lose. You may see your bank account dip lower. This is the delay of the echo. You shout it into the canyon, and the echo takes time to return. You must not let the delay discourage you. Neville taught brazen impudence, a stubborn refusal to accept the evidence of the senses. If the world says you are broke, you simply smile and say internally, I remember that illusion. You must trust that the how is completely irrelevant. The human mind cannot conceive of the infinite ways the universe can deliver a sum of money. It might be a lottery, it might be an inheritance, it might be a forgotten investment. By fixating on the lottery specifically, we use it as a focal point, but we remain open to the feeling of wealth itself. Your job is not to figure out the logistics. Your job is to sustain the feeling. If you start worrying about the how, you are digging up the seed to see if it has roots, thereby killing it. The cycle is traditionally cited as 21 days, But it is not a rigid law. It is a guideline for habit formation. You repeat the nightly ritual, the forgiveness, the sats, the loop, until the feeling of naturalness is achieved. This is the Sabbath. There will come a moment when you feel you no longer need to do the technique. You won't feel the desperate need to visualize because you will know it is true. It will feel as natural as your own name. When you reach this state of inner indifference, where having it feels normal, the manifestation is imminent. Until then, you persist. You ignore the doubters. You ignore the logic. You ignore the facts. You live entirely in the fourth dimension of your imagination. You are the operant power. You are the god of your reality. This forbidden technique is not just about money. It is about reclaiming your birthright. It is about proving to yourself that you are not a cork bobbing in the ocean of fate, but the ocean itself. Stand firm, remember the future, and watch the world bend the knee to your assumption. The ticket in your hand is just paper. The reality is the memory you have just constructed in the silence of your soul. You are no longer hoping to be chosen by fate. You have chosen yourself. The bridge has been crossed. The question now is not, will it happen? But, how much will you accept? Write in the comments, I remember my win. Subscribe and turn on notifications immediately, because the technique in the next video goes even deeper into the rabbit hole of creation. Click it now. Your new life is waiting.